wonder is it real? Rappers acting steady high, steady simple pills. Glorify suicide so they get the deals. Big pharma set it up, had to flip the pills. Control the music industry until the scripts get filled. Geopolitically, yeah, we in the field. That's for Israel. Wonder is it real? Took the way you saw the world, then distorted it. Now you think you wanna rock and twirl somewhere orbited. Theories disproportionate, the truth distorted quick with a forceful grip. They force a simple that we absorb it quick. Took the people's signature that mean extorted it. They forging it, abusing cause informants who informing them. There's a surplus, but they tell us there are shortages. Credit economy mortgages, dollar that's supported with empty fortresses. But what support is this? We port in ships supporting gifts. Of course it is, but extortion is in accordance with an assortment list of foreign tricks. We ignoring which informant disinforming this. It looked like we were storing tricks. Pedophilia and the government endorsing it. Yeah, eugenics is exactly what abortion is. You just vilifying those as subordinate. Way to matrix engineer, that's unfortunate. Geopolitically, we in a field. That's for Israel. Wonder is it real? Rappers acting steady high, steady simple pills. Glorify suicide so they get the deals. Big pharma set it up just to flip the pills. Control the music industry until the scripts get filled. Geopolitically, yeah, we in the field. That's for Israel. Wonder is it real?
Oh, hey, what's up, guys? As you can see, quite a bit of gravy we got rolling out. I'm gonna do my best. This is a lot of gravy. Let me try to find us all a super chat. Thank you very much, Sativa and me, for $10 super chat, super sticker. Much appreciated. You are the man. Oh, we got another one I missed. I don't know where it went. Oh, here it is. Cool story coming, I'm sure. No pressure. Well, thank you for the super chat, Rakia Life. Rakia Life is a legend, of course. Much appreciated, bro. $10 super chat. And yeah, I'm just gonna disclaimer, dude. I'm not gonna bring you the most earth-shattering revelation ever right now. I've been trying to figure it out. I've been real busy. This is a crazy rabbit hole. So maybe it's best to look at this as a way to begin to break down the deception of the calendar, and we're gonna get into it. I might have to cover this more in depth in the future. You know, it's hands down like the biggest rabbit hole maybe that I've been requested to go look into. And that's saying a lot. We've covered some pretty crazy rabbit holes already, so bear with me, and we'll do the best we can. All right, so simply, let's get a few things covered out. How about globe shattering? Yeah, that's a pretty big one. But I think the importance of this is unprecedented, right? We'll get into it. So everyone knows, my worldview. Obviously, the way that I break this down is going to be relative to that. Save the spiraling for someone else, but no one cares. So the sky is for signs and wonders, okay? And so when we see these things like eclipses, we've been engineered to think it's just this cyclical nature of random chaotic happenstance, which that makes sense, right? You could predict the eclipses in the heliocentric model for sure. I mean, even though they literally can't, and admit on NASA's website they have to use a Saros cycle. But anyway, the point is that what you see in the sky, from the zodiac signs to the eclipses to the solstices, equinox, every bit of it is a very intricately designed timepiece. There's a progression within it, and it is to give you signs as to the time you are in. Okay, so the sky is for signs and wonders, right? And so we've been detached from this understanding. Now, it's very obvious and hyperlogical that the grabblers, they keep a lot of this information to themselves. But we will see that, for example, the Jewish calendar is wrong. Okay, this has got to be one of the biggest deceptions ever. It has to be. I mean, yeah, obviously telling you live on a magic spinning cartoon ball that defies physics, that's a big one. But that's intrinsically tied to this. And this is, like I said, I think I've just now scraped the surface. So if I have a feeling a lot of this stuff may blow people's minds, but I think it's just the beginning. I have to keep looking into it. And in addition to that, I'm giving you my opinion. I'm not saying I know everything. I'm not interested in someone getting in the comments and arguing with me about what they think. I'm sorry, I'm just not interested. So there you go. There's a disclaimer. And so let's break a couple things down. I actually went as far as to type out some things on PowerPoint, believe it or not. Actually, before I do that, let's watch this video. Now, most people know the calendar we got, right? There's a Gregorian calendar. That's what we have right now. And that was changed from the original Roman or Julian calendar by just a little bit, right? Because 365.25 as opposed to 365.24798, whatever it is. So that's what we use right now. We use the Julian calendar. We use the Roman calendar. Okay, the whole world. Okay, so everyone's using the Roman calendar. And if you know anything, the Romans have done nothing other than subvert the truth and twist and bend every single thing, right? Everyone uses it. So you're going to have to, I know that a lot of people aren't going to be able to follow all of this. I know that this is going to go over a lot of people's head. That's no disrespect. It's hard to grasp because of the years of conditioning. You are going to have to keep in mind that the calendar's different than what we've been told. Okay, so let's just watch this little mainstream video of a short history of the modern calendar. In case some people don't know some of this basic stuff. Watch a couple really short videos to put into perspective, and then we're gonna start to decode the wizardry.
We celebrate January 1st as the new year. Why are half of our months named after numbers and the other after Roman religious practices and leaders? Have we always counted days, weeks, months, and years like this? What's with that Mayan calendar thing? There were a number of calendars in early human history. You had the Hebrew calendar, the Egyptian calendar, the Greek calendar, Chinese calendar, Babylonian calendar, and others. The one we use today in the Western world originated from the Roman calendar. Incidentally, the early Roman calendar evolved from that of the Greeks. It was basically a lunar calendar with an extra month inserted every so often to keep the months in step with the seasons. They were named Martius, Aprilis, Maia, Junius, Quintilis, Sextilis, September, October, November, December, Januarius, and Februarius. These names have pretty much been the same since the past 2,500 years. Unlike today, the Roman year began with March. The calendar consisted of 355 days, which was about 12 lunar months. The intercalary month, Mercedonius, was added when needed at the end of February. So when that happened, February was shortened to 23 days.
Go ahead and tell you right now, you don't just use the lunar cycle. Okay, so those that say you just go by the lunar cycle, that's not true. Those that say, again, this is all my opinion and what I've come to so far. Okay, those that say there are 13 months, that isn't true either. Okay, there aren't 13 months. You don't just use the lunar cycle. We'll get more in detail in a second.
Julius Caesar took it upon himself to bring the calendar in line with the seasons. He ordered 3 intercalary months should be added at the end of the year and rearranged the length of the months, giving them their present duration. He eventually rejected the lunar month entirely and adopted the solar year, which had an average length of 365.25 days. The 4-year leap year cycle was added to resolve the 25th of a day. The reforms took place on January 1, 45 BCE. This changed the beginning of the year from March 1st to January 1st as we know it today. The calendar was called the Julian calendar for obvious reasons. The 7-day week was followed by Judaism and Islam. The week was set around a day of rest and religious practices. Romans didn't have a day of rest, so their 8-day week cycled around market days. Eventually, astrologers assigned a planet to rule each of the 24 hours of the day in a continual sequence. This led to the Roman 7-day cycle. Saturn, the Sun, Moon, Mars, Mercury, Jupiter, and Venus became Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. The names of the first 6 months are partially derived from the fact that certain Roman gods had feast days or times centered around them. For example,
so every time that you refer to these months as this, right, technically what you're doing is inadvertently shouting out pagan festivals and practices revering their pagan gods. This is why I said it rivals as one of the biggest deceptions ever, right? Because this ties into the holidays. It's wild. Okay, so the Romans have cast the beast system of quantification of actual days, months, and years onto the whole world successfully.
Janus was
Under the guise of the production or progression of science.
God of beginning, so January was used for the name of the first month of the year. The month of March was the time that soldiers would begin war, so it was named after the god of war, Mars. The other 2 months were named after Roman leaders, and the rest of the months were just named after the number of the month that they were. October.
Okay, right, so these are just numbers. The etymology of the word, everyone probably knows that. Well, what is this one? Dece, that's 10. December is not the 12th month, it is the 10th month.
Or 8th month, November, 9th month. The Julian calendar was simple, which made everything seem fine and dandy, but there was a small problem, a problem that added up every year. The 365.25 day year is 11 minutes and 15 seconds longer than the true length of the tropical year. After 128 years, the season begins a whole day earlier. The Egyptians, Greeks, and Romans didn't have an issue with days not lining up perfectly, but the Christian church did. You see, they wanted to make sure that the religious holidays they celebrated were on their actual days. Pope Gregory XIII took it upon himself to resolve this problem and came up with the Gregorian calendar. The changes he enacted resolved the shift at the beginning of each year, set a standard for the length of a year in days and minutes and seconds, among other things. The changes were not accepted in England and the British colonies in America until 1752. By then, the English calendar was off by 11 days compared to the calendar of continental Europe. Because of this, dates of events such as the timeline of historical figures will often have 2 dates. The Gregorian is called the New Style, and the Julian the Old Style.
I mean, you should instinctively know that if you have to do all of this stuff, it isn't accurate.
The birth of Isaac Newton was the 25th of December, 1642, in accordance to the Old Style, but was the 4th of January, 1643, in accordance to the New Style, and the Julian the Old Style. The birth of Isaac Newton was the 25th of December, 1642, in accordance to the Old Style, but was the 4th of January, 1643, in accordance to the New.
Which effectively hides that, dude, there's no telling if this dude even really existed or what the truth about this guy is. There's no telling, dude. But you saw that date pop up, right?
Style. In the Middle Ages, New Year celebrations were abolished due to their pagan origins, but the celebrations were started again in 1582. The modern calendar can't be credited to one specific person. It's pretty much the Gregorian calendar, but with an addition of dates for Christian celebrations and the way years are numbered. Oh, and about the 2012
Christian celebrations.
Prophecy stating the end of the world. Don't worry about that. It's a bunch of bunk.
All right, there we go. Decent little introduction. We'll check this out. Guys, you just have to have the foreground or the foundation, right, to move forward. I think a lot of people know most of this stuff, but just in case they don't, here we go. I know that these are a little boring, but I'm trying to jump in with occasional gravy.
Mythology, a guide to gods, heroes, rituals, and beliefs. The Germanic peoples who undertook the translation seem to have relied on the Roman gods whose names the planets bore, and to have tried to equate those gods with their own. In the cases of Sunday and Monday, the translation was obvious. The other cases, however, were more difficult. Sunday in Latin, Dies Solis, or Sol, is probably the most obvious. It is literally the day of the sun. Sol Invictus was the Roman sun god, the same pagan deity that is worshipped
in America today. That's the Statue of Liberty.
Was the Roman sun god, the same pagan deity that is worshipped at Christmas. Monday in Latin, Dies Lunae, or Luna, again is not too difficult to determine. It is the day of the moon. Luna is a Roman goddess and was seen as the female companion of Sol. Tuesday in Latin, Dies Martis, or Tuesday in Latin. Tuesday, the Roman god.
Okay, and there's the torch, right? You have the combination, the Statue of Liberty.
And was seen as the female companion of Sol. Tuesday in Latin, Dies Martis, or Mars, is a bit harder to explain. The name Tuesday is derived from an Old English word, Tuesdag, or Tuesday.
Sorry, just to make sure y'all fully understand, maybe y'all don't. Like this right here. Okay.
Monday in Latin, Dies Lunae, or Luna, again is not too difficult to determine. It is the day of the moon. Lunar is a...
Okay, the sun god, the moon goddess, they're combined into one. This is their god, mother, father. That's what the Statue of Liberty represents. Mother, father, as a singular entity. Hence Baphomet always being a tranny. Explained this to you guys in Matrix Decoded, even though we were heavily grappled. That's why it starts off with Neo here and Britney Spears music. The idea is he has to, be able to master duality all the way down to gender, mother, father, and then they have a metaphysical third aspect to complete their trinity. And this is literally being practiced unbeknownst to 99% of the American population, for example, on a regular basis every single year.
Roman goddess and was seen as the female companion of Sol. Tuesday in Latin, Dies Martis, or Mars, is a bit harder to explain. The name Tuesday is derived from an Old English word, Tuesdag, or Tuesday. Tu was the Norse god of war, but in Latin the name of the god of war is Mars. So the day of the week, as well as the month of March and the red planet in our solar system, are all named after the Roman god of war.
Solar system.
Wednesday in Latin, Dies Mercury, or Mercury, again is not so straightforward. The name Wednesday is derived from an Old English word, Wodensdag, or Wodensday. Woden is one of the many different names and pronunciations for Odin, a Norse god, although some archaeologists have thought that Odin may well have been a historical figure. Tacitus, a 1st century AD Roman historian, identified the Germanic worship of Odin to the Roman worship of Mercury. Mercury was seen to be cunning and changeable, hence the word mercurial, and Odin was viewed in a similar way. Thursday in Latin, Dies Lovis, or Jupiter, is derived from an Old English name for Thor's Day. Thor is the more well-known Norse god of thunder, and Jupiter, the Roman god of sky and thunder. Friday in Latin, Dies Veneris, or Venus, comes from the Old English word Frida, or Free Day. Free is a Norse goddess and wife of Odin. The etymology of her name appears to mean dear, beloved, and one that is free. In comparison, Venus is the goddess of love, which would explain the association. Finally, the last day of the week is Saturday, or in Latin, Dies Saturni, or Saturn. Saturn was the Roman harvest god, and other linguistic roots point towards the Germanic deity, Satyr, who was a harvester of people.
Okay, a harvester of people. This is actually supposed to be the Sabbath. That's why, of course, he's associated himself with that day. Little Secret King diversion, or subversion, and inversion.
Deity, Satyr, who was a harvester of people. It is interesting to note that in many of the Romance languages, this day is actually named after its religious origin, Sabbado, or in Hebrew, Shabbat.
Yeah, it was inverted.
In English as the Sabbath day. In his book, History of the Anglo-Saxon...
All right, well, that's enough. No one cares, dude. You're annoying. All right, so we broke down very obviously all the way to from the months all the way to the days. The names of the days and the months, they're all pagan polytheistic representations that stem from the Watchers. Okay, that's what it is. This is because, again, the signs and wonders in the sky are for you to better navigate deception. We're given festives or a feast, right? So we're given feasts, and we have certain days lined out for them. And we're supposed to use the sky to know exactly what's going on with the feast. The feasts are not designed as some like rule that condemns you. It's designed as a way to help you get closer to the Creator, to start to understand the reason for things, to understand the true, deep spiritual meaning of what's going on in the sky. What all's going on in the sky, guys? Okay, the whole entire sky is engineered around Yeshua. All of it. It's dude, it's a timeline of the history of mankind. That's what the sky is. Now, I wonder why they would put such a concerted effort to make sure you don't understand any of this, because it is like the cheat code. Okay, God is not the author of confusion, nor does he leave you hanging. Now, this is where a lot of people may get lost. We're going to bring up some math, but it's going to be okay. Now, as we go through this, you're going to start to maybe understand why the grabblers are so obsessed with gematria, right? Because they know that the Creator has put this numerical balance, this harmonic balance of ratio within everything, including his word, coded in there to make sure you understand things. And so they have taken it, inverted it like always, used the power of numbers for evil, for their side, their Luciferian doctrine. This is going to become more and more evident as we go through this. Again, hopefully this isn't too complicated for anybody, but let's just get into it. All right. So the Enoch calendar. This is the one that all the people that actually followed Yeshua adhered to until it was completely subverted and taken over by force by the Romans. Okay, so the Enoch calendar accounts for both the solar and lunar cycle. Many people say it's just about the moon. It is not. It accounts for both the solar and the lunar cycle. Enoch calendar is 12 months of exactly 30 days each. Okay, that's 360 days. A circle, a perfect circle. Okay, so the Enoch calendar is 12 months of exactly 30 days each. There are 4 additional days per year added for the solstices and the equinox. Okay, so this totals, of course, 364 days. Every 5 years, there's a leap week. This is actually outlined in scriptures in numerous different ways. This is the part that people can't get it to make sense or understand it. Okay, every 5 years there's a leap week, and of course, inherent within that means you have to know when to start it to know when the 5 years is. Okay, so we have 364. Every 5 years there's a leap week. This is outlined in scriptures. This is one of the not as good examples, but we'll get into it. And like I said, there's so much information. I'll probably have to start covering this somewhat frequently, like once a week or something, just to try to get to the bottom of it. So anyway, an example is in Exodus, there's a survey taken of the men of war, and there are 603,550. And then after wandering in the wilderness for 40 years, there are 601,730 men of war when they take the second survey. 603,550 minus 601,730 gives you 1,820. If you divide 1,820 by 364, you get exactly 5. Now, I guess you could think that this is a coincidence, right? But it is not, as you will see in just a second. So again, they take the survey of the men, right? The difference in the two surveys is 1,820, and that divided by 364, the amount of days in the Enochian calendar, because you have 360 prophetic days, you have the 4 additional days every year, right, with the solstices and equinoxes. And so 364 into 1820 is exactly 5. So we're going to move on to Genesis and watch how Genesis has coded and told you and referenced the Enoch calendar with the very lineage of the people themselves. It's crazy. All right, so Enoch walked with Yah after he begat Methuselah 300 years, right? So at 65 years, he begat Methuselah. All the days of Enoch was 365 years. And you see, I capitalized all the days. Okay, now keep in mind, there is no accidents in the scriptures. In fact, it's got so many meanings. Just like most people here know, if they do pray and read the scriptures, often they will read a scripture and take something completely new from it every time almost, okay? All the days of Enoch was 365 years. Enoch was not, for Yah took him, okay? So Methuselah lived 187 years and begat Lamech. All right. there are 187 days between the spring and fall equinoxes over that 6-month period. Exactly 187 days. Okay. The Enoch calendar is 364 days with 360 prophetic days, and you add the 4 days, spring equinox, fall equinox, summer solstice, winter solstice, 364 days minus 187 days that we got from Lamech gives you 177 days remaining. There are 177 days between any lunar cycle 6 months apart. An example, the blood moons in 2014, the blood moon on Passover, and another blood moon on Tabernacle, days between Passover and Tabernacle is 177 days. Lamech lived 182 years and beget Noah, so 182 days are precisely 6 months on the Enoch calendar, of course. 6 times 30, 180, plus the 2 days that you add every 6 months. So it's encoded in the lineage in Genesis. It's an affirmation of the Enochian calendar that all of the people that followed Yeshua used and utilized. And actually, if you look into the history, they fought back very strongly against them trying to change it and force them to adhere to the new calendar. All the days of Lamech were 777 years. Enoch days in a year, 364. So that doubled is 728. I know that you're just going to have to follow me. Okay, 777 minus 728 equals 49. This part of it, I'll have to do a whole other stream on it. Jared lived 162 years and beget Enoch and lived another 800 years. All of the days of Jared were 962 years. So 800 minus the 728 equals 72. And of course, 72 times 5 is 360. Again, every 5 years is where you have to add the week, the leap week, if you will. The number 5 comes from the 5 generations that we just decoded. These aren't just random numbers that I'm trying to make work or something. It's nothing like that. Trust me, I hate stuff like that. So if you're following me, you know that none of this is a reach. This is clearly encoded in it. If you're not following me, watch the stream again. I'll try and break it down more in depth in the future. Okay, so 72 times 5 is exactly 360, and that's what you get when you look at the days, 800 minus 728. Oh, that's probably just another coincidence, okay? Noah was 500 years and beget Shem, Ham, and Japheth. In Exodus 30, we're told 500 shekels of myrrh, which is equal to the 6 months in Esther's preparation. Okay? So the 500 is referencing the 6 months of preparation. 6 months, okay? Hopefully y'all followed that. If not, like I said, I'll do another stream in the future or something. Okay, so 7, ecclesia. Ecclesia is a church, okay? We have 7 councils, ecclesia councils. Now in Revelations, of course, we're told of the 7 churches. Now there are 7 lamps on a menorah. That's 49. I'm sorry, I know this might be somewhat tedious, but I'm trying to break it down for you guys. So anyway, we have 49, of course. 7 times 7 is 49. So there are 7 churches in Revelations, right? I'm probably going to butcher these, but Ephesus, probably wrong. Smyrna, Pergamon, definitely going to butcher that one. Thyatira, Sardis, Philadelphia, and Laodicea. This is the council coded into the Enochian calendar of 49 days. There are 7 Sabbaths to be counted from the Feast of the First Fruits to Pentecost. Okay, so the men had to appear in Jerusalem for 3 feasts. That was Passover, Pentecost, and Tabernacles. Again, I know that I'm rushing through this, but it's just for the people that can maybe grasp it first time. Pentecost is the 50th week. Okay, so not counting the other 2 feasts that the men had to appear for, you have 49 weeks remaining. As if we were like, oh, where's 50 weeks come from? What about 52 weeks? Well, we're told specifically the men had to go to 3 of the feasts. Okay, when you account for them, you have 49 weeks left. These are the 49 weeks where the councils meet. Again, we broke down, I don't know how to go back. Yeah, we broke down the 49, right? The 7 councils and the 7 lamps. Okay, so there are 49 weeks where the councils meet. What's going on in the sky is way bigger than they've told you, dude. There's an actual, let's just say, angelic account of events going on relative to where we are in the process of this timeline, and that's where you get these signs in the sky, guys. Okay, it's not something as simple as let's just draw a cartoon flat Earth and look, it goes around and around and around. No, this is a very intricate timepiece used for signs and wonders. There's also a council of watchers, and they meet every 72 days. There are 5 critical days of judgment that happen every year. The 9th of Av, Tabernacles, or Av, I guess, Tabernacles, the 21st day of the 7th month, the 3rd day of the 10th month, the 15th day of the 12th month, and the 27th day of the 2nd month, right? So every 72 days. These are the councils of judgment that meet 5 times a year. And of course, once again, 72 times 5 equals the 360 days of the Enoch calendar, 12 months of 30 days exactly. Okay, so I did that to try to break down the math. I know that was a little bit much maybe for some people, but font difficult to read. I'm sorry. Okay, so anyway, I was just breaking that down to show you, like I said, I have to do a stream where I in-depth break it down. This is just trying to breeze over it, really. Okay, I found a pretty good dude on YouTube that does a decent job breaking some of this stuff down. I'm gonna play a couple of clips of his videos. He's a little monotone or whatever, but he's cool. So basically, the part that you need to take out of it is very simple. Okay, there are 12 months, and they're 30 days each. And we're told about the actual calendar that Enoch was given, which when you read Enoch, you know that Uriel gave Enoch the calendar. An archangel gave Enoch the calendar. He was the first scribe. He wrote it down so everyone would know how to keep up with the feasts and the sky and the signs. He was literally given the calendar from an archangel. So I'm gonna go on that side. I'm gonna listen to what the archangels say the sky is doing, not what humans think the sky is doing as a ball wobbles on a tilted axis of 66.6 degrees going 11 vectors. They can't even predict eclipses, so they have no idea what they're talking about. Okay, Uriel gave Enoch the calendar. There's 12 months with exactly 30 days. You get 360, perfect circle. Okay, just like we find sacred geometry everywhere. The ratio of existence itself is beautifully defined. Okay, and divinity is simplicity. It's a perfect circle. You got 12 months, you got 30 days in each month, you get 360. You add the 4 days additional because of the equinoxes and the solstices, you get 364. You might say, oh, well, there's 365, right? Once again, every 5 years you add a leap week. This is laid out in scriptures that like there would be a 6-month period of feast, and then the king took another week. Okay, so it explains it to you all throughout the scriptures if you know what you're looking for. And I'll do a stream where I'll break all this down more in depth. I'm just trying to do the surface level stream, guys. I'm not going to keep saying it, but I know that it's maybe a bunch going on right now. I'm sorry. Okay, but it's broken down in the scriptures. And this is why it took me so long to do this stream, because I didn't want to rush it. You know, that there's an additional week. Okay, and we're told throughout it in all kinds of different ways. It's every 5 years. Okay, now, for example, you need to know where to start the calendar. Well, we say that we start at 2014 because that's when all those blood moons came, right? To help us realign and implement the Enochian calendar. That is a theory. Either way, I'm not claiming to know all the answers, guys. I'm giving you all the pieces to put together. This is going to take a lot of research and a lot of prayer. Right. And I don't have it all figured out, I promise. So either way, every 5 years, there's a leap week. The calendar works perfectly. There is no like make up new months, add days, just, shorten. Oh, and there's only 28 days in the month or whatever. You don't have to do anything like that. It's always right. Always, for all of mankind's history. So I wonder which calendar is the best to use, the one that's literally always right, or the ones that have to be constantly doctored and changed and made up and makes no sense whatsoever. Probably the one that's always right. Okay, and we're told in Enoch it will always be right. It will be right until the very end, and it is. This is what was removed from us. So I'm going to pull up a PDF, and I'm going to show y'all this. I'm going to show y'all this calendar over top of the calendar people use to this day. All right, so let's go over here. I know it's a lot. Y'all asked for the calendar stream, man. And honestly, I'm glad someone did. Pros for Pigs, shout out. All right, so here we go. Now, in order to be able to follow this coherently, what you do is you just you break it up into 6 days. Okay, there are 7 days in the week. Okay, Yah created the world. Like when God created the world, dude, he rests on the 7th day. Okay, there are 7 days. So a lot of people, they have a theory where there's not 7 days or something. No, there are. Okay, and on the last day is where you're supposed to rest. Okay, so anyway, we have the first of the year. You mark this off based on like the moon, based on the solstice, and the first Wednesday. We'll get into that later. So anyway, every 6 days, of course, what you're going to have is 5 rows that equal exactly 30. Okay, this is how you keep up with the calendar. And then what you're going to have is on top the right numbers, and then you're going to have the ones the whole world believe are the real dates. Okay, so March 18th was the first of the year. This is 2020. So now as you come down, you get to find out exactly where the feasts are, and you start to find out that they line up perfectly with everything in the sky. You have the Sabbath. It's going to come down diagonally. The reoccurrence of all the dates are going to come down diagonally. I'll drop this PDF in the description if anybody wants it. Okay, so you just keep coming down. These are representing eclipses. You get all your feasts lined up, and you find out that this is the day you add. Okay, so what you find out is this works perfect, dude. It works perfectly. This is the actual calendar that people should be in here. This is how you make sure you know what the Sabbath, you keep up with your Sabbath. It's always the 7th day. That's when you're supposed to rest. And this looks really confusing to someone whenever you're so used to seeing the other calendar, right? I understand. That's why I'll send it to you. There's a reference key on here. This is super important, dude. Tells you all the color codings. It explains to you the 7 church cycles, right? So we have Epiphysis begins after the Feast of Weeks. Let me see if I can zoom in. There we go. Smyrna, 7 churches times 7 menorahs. Each has 7 lamps. So menorahs times 7 lamps equals 49, right? So 7 churches times 7 weeks equals 49 weeks. 49, so 49 days times 7 weeks equals 343 and a half. Son of man equals 7 equals 350. Add weeks for Passover and Tabernacles of plus 14 days equals 364 days in the prophetic year. I know that some of this stuff is going to sound complicated, but what you should be putting together is all these numbers work out perfectly, bro. All of them. You cannot hand wave dismiss it. It all works perfectly, bro. And then as we start to align this with actual events that go on in the world, it's perfect. When you see an eclipse, bro, it's something very, very important going on above you, dude. That's the truth. Okay, so details to year 7 of the Enoch calendar. So here you go. It just breaks it all down. It breaks it all down using the scriptures. I encourage everyone to look into. You can obviously see it's a lot of information, dude. I haven't even looked through all of it. I haven't broke all this down. But yeah, anyway, so I'll link this. It's pretty cool. Again, as you can see, I guess some people don't even know some of this stuff. Let me go back over here. Okay, so basically, of course, what you think the year is nowhere close to reality. It's not even in the ballpark, right? So they came up with this Roman thing. I'll drop the link right now. Yeah. Actually, I'll have to find it because I have it pulled up on a PDF. So sorry. I'll give you all a link in a little bit. So anyway, I'll put it in the description because I have a PDF. I don't know how to do that. I'll have to figure it out. So anyway, December, Dece, 10, right? So like they showed you the final months, they're just named after the number, the word that means a number, okay? We get to December, that's 10. Dude, December is the 10th month, bro. It isn't the 12th month, okay? So then you move forward. We have January and we have February, and that's the 11th and 12th month. The year begins in March. Okay, that's the beginning of the year. And it has been forever until the Romans came in and changed it. Now, one of the primary reasons they had to change this is so people couldn't figure out Yeshua's birthday. And like I told you, this is a huge part of the Christmas stream that's coming up. I don't want to give it away too much, but one of the main reasons that they changed this is, of course, this is all the same reason. They don't want you to know the signs and wonders going on in the sky. They don't want you to know that the signs is telling you very clearly what's going on. Everyone should know it. You have no excuses, right? Whenever it comes to what's going on, the heavens were made for you. The heavens are made around where you live. The earth was made for you. And the entire heavens is all going around Yeshua. It's all about Yeshua. All of it. All of it. Every single part of the sky is telling you the story of Yeshua. It's all around him. That's what the whole sky is about. So when you look up and you see stars in the sky and you see these constellations, you need to understand. And here's another thing. Those people that are real obsessed with their zodiac signs and they can constantly contribute it to themselves, you need to think twice before you do that, because it's all about Yeshua, not you. It's about Yeshua. Just so you know. So they've taken that and they've subverted it and they've made it think it's about yourself. Come read this newsletter. And some people are like, oh, I don't believe the newsletters, but I still believe this and this. It's not about you. And in fact, you shouldn't even celebrate your birthday. The more I look into this, it's a pagan thing to celebrate your date of birth. And actually, all the prophets denounced the day that they were born. And yet we're going around celebrating our birthday, right? We're attributing our birthdays to some type of self-significance regarding correlation to the sky. The deception runs deep, bro. And so, we just gotta slay the wizards here. I can't hold your hand. Look into birthdays. Look into what the prophets said about their birthday. It's a pagan practice of oneself. That's all the pagan practices are, is putting yourself up in a place of importance. You do not belong, thinking that you yourself are a god or can become a god, and that everything's about you and you're the special boy. That's what it's all about. It's all to detach you from the fact that the whole sky is about Yeshua. So, yeah. All these people that are like, oh, Yeshua, it's sort of fairy tale. Well, the whole sky was made from him or for him and about him. So it looks like you don't have beef with me. You got beef with whoever made the sky, because they made the whole sky about Yeshua. The most historically accurate figure. You can show that the sky directly coordinates to his birth and to all the events about him. The sky tells you the story of his life. Okay? And everything all the way to the end in the sky is culminating in his return. And that's the truth. And if you think it's crazy and you think you figured everything out, I don't care. Stay out of my comments. I don't care. If people think they're going to enlighten you with some new age theology, like I haven't heard it before, like, oh, how profound. You think that you're a god. Oh my gosh, you really thought this one through, right? Like I'm not interested. I know all about your new age theologies. It's stupid, quite frankly. So I read part of this yesterday. I'm going to read part of it again. But one of the big parts of it was so that you don't know the sky is actually all about Yeshua, right? And it's telling you a timeline of events. It's a watch, dude. It's for signs and wonders, and it's a timepiece. And you're supposed to be able to have an idea of what's going on. No man will know the day nor the hour, not even the angels. But you should know the season, and you should be able to put it together. And in fact, you don't even have to just put it together. It's just up there waiting for you to look at it and understand what's going on. And the only reason this stream seems so complicated and hard to grasp, it is not because it is complicated. It's actually very, very simple. It's because of the way you've been engineered and designed, right? So when you see like the year, you're like confused. When you see days and they start to overlap, and I go through, there are 5 groups of 6. You're like, this doesn't make sense. This isn't adding up. This is just because you've been engineered to not understand it. Okay, and now I want to figure out the true meaning, my true birthday. Well, you were born on a certain day. I guess, you were conceived on a certain day. That's why you're not supposed to, dude, you're not supposed to care about your birthday. And this calendar stream's done a lot for me, dude. I'm on a process. I'm just sharing with y'all as I go, just trying to be transparent. So let's look through some of this, because a big part of it actually ties into what we talked about last night, which is, Zeitgeist and the hit piece, the most infamous propaganda hit piece on Yeshua ever, where they try to loop him in with all these polytheistic pagan practices of December 25th, right? And they tell you to worship Yeshua's birth and celebrate Yeshua's birth on Christmas, Christ Mass, right? And it's a pagan, belief about Nimrod. We'll cover that in the Christmas stream. But anyway, the main way they were able to propagate this lie and lump him in as if he's just another story that they were all being told the same way. Okay. They couldn't let you know when he was really born. So again, the sky tells you everything, bro. So there's a lot of truth to, like, I feel like we're connected to the sky. I feel like the sky is super important. I feel like the sky is trying to tell us something. I feel like the sky is giving us signs and what. That's true. But when you want to flip it and like now I can read your future. Now I can know what you're like. Now I know your personality and your spirit, and you have the spirit of Mars and all of that. No, dude. No, dude. You need to pump the brakes. We're specifically warned against people like that in the scriptures, by the way. The king always used to have those kind of people. And it's like, beware of those people, dude. And the sorcerers. Does not say that they're just kooky people that aren't saying anything that's true. They're twisting and subverting what's true. It's called sorcery. So I know this is going to make a lot of people uncomfortable on this stream, but what am I supposed to do? I never even checked D Live. Hopefully we're live. Oh, what's up, everybody on D Live? Thanks for the lemons. You are the best. All right. Let's check this out. I'm going to do a lot of reading right here, maybe. Maybe that's what I should do. I don't know how else to do it. I don't want to read too much for you guys, though. Okay. I'm still going to look. I'm just going to read through it. What can you do? You got to live. All right. Revelation 12 as astral prophecy. Now, by the way, again, any reference to the Jewish calendar can kick rocks. Okay, the Jewish calendar doesn't have it right. They actually have to add to it, and what you'll find out is like their times don't add up. They're constantly have to manipulate things. The Jewish calendar is wrong. Okay. Nearly all scholars who have tried to correlate the birth of the Messiah with astronomy share a crucial oversight. They start with the description of the Star of Bethlehem in Matthew 2. This is a fatal flaw, one that not only overlooks Paul's astro-theological use of Psalm 19, but one that cuts off any chance of understanding how first-century Jews would have connected the birth of Yeshua with the sin of the Watchers. I believe the celestial messaging Paul had in mind in Romans 10:18 can be found in Revelation 12:1-7. Whatever. I don't even really like this guy anymore, so I don't want to read too much of what he says because he's a graveler. So we're just going to move to Revelation 12:5. Clearly, it references a child, right? It's very explicit that the child is Yeshua, the promised Messiah. She gave birth to a male child, one who is to rule all the nations with a rod of iron, but her child was caught up to God and to his throne. The description is an allusion to Psalms 2:7-9, which prophesied that the Messiah would defeat God's enemies and be installed as ruler over all the nations. This is where the little grabblers get carried away and they think it's some political figure. Whoa, what was that? They're going to take over the whole world and all this nonsense, right? The Psalms allusion is coupled with the description of an ascent to the child up to God and his throne, a reference to the resurrection of the child. Whatever, just moving on. Let's just get to the good part here. Okay. I read this, I think, yesterday, but anyway. So the combination of astronomical signs produces a unique set of circumstances that can only be accounted for by one date, and in point in fact, a 90-minute window on that date. This date, as well as we will see momentarily, has dramatic significance in the Jewish calendar, which is not completely correct. We just covered that. They have to change all kinds of stuff on a whim. According to these signs in the heavens, the date of Yeshua's birth was September 11th, 3 BC. The whole part of the grabbling of the years, I don't even know if you can get to the bottom of that part. Jupiter is also important because it is the best explanation, which is funny because the Matrix tells you, like, obviously the Watchers, which are what everyone thinks are the good guys in the movie, tell you, like, dude, you think it's 1999. I think it's closer to 2199. Tell the truth, we don't even know. So, come on, the Watchers don't know. I think it's futile pursuit that we're going to figure out exactly what year it is. No man knows the day nor the hour anyway. But we'll know the season. Jupiter is well known for retrograde motion. Of course, we know the entire, presupposed sphericity and solidity of these objects moving based on some mechanism that could never even work because conceptual abstractions are reified is complete nonsense. That isn't the point because we know, of course, that planet means wanderer, wandering stars. They're the ones that rebelled. They do have a different motion in the sky. Okay, so Jupiter is well known for retrograde motion, the appearance of movement back and forth in the night sky. Jupiter's first conjunction with Regulus began on September 14th, 3 BC. And continued through September 11th, 3 BC. On December 1, 3 BC, Jupiter stopped its normal course through the fixed stars and began its annual retrogression or backward motion. In doing so, it once again headed toward the star Regulus. Then on February 17th, 2 BC, the two were reunited. Jupiter continued on its motion, still in retrogression, another 40 days, and then it reverted to its normal motion through the stars. The timing is right as the Magi embarked on their journey a year or so after Yeshua was actually born. The astronomical context of John's description of what he saw in the heavens in Revelation 12 puts the birth of Yeshua on September 11th, 3 BC. As impressive as the correlation of astronomical events with the description of Revelation 12 is, there are even more points of correlation that bear directly on the astro-theology Astro-theology being communicated. Okay, so there's a little brief overview. We'll just really go in depth on the Christmas stream, okay? But Yeshua was born September 11th. This is why I do the false flags of mass sacrifice as a mockery to him on September 11th. This is why you call the cops 911, okay? So that's it. You know, you tell me why they're so obsessed with Yeshua. If it's all fairy tale, all the smart, woke people, I would love to hear it. There is no logical reason that you can present to me. All right, so I'm gonna give you all a little bit more of the gravy. I don't want to overdo it, but I'm gonna hit y'all with this video. This guy helped me put a bunch of pieces together. He's really hard to listen to. Like, you know, you're welcome, guys. I had to, like, for me, I need something a little quicker. I just need the information. But this part right here, some gravy. I haven't had time to fully look into it, but it's crazy, the correlation of the scriptures and everything that happened in the sky, and this includes the eclipses. And so we'd be able to better understand the phenomena of the eclipses, what's they're marking, what's going on. There's a council in the sky, dude. There's a freaking council in the sky. They meet, dude. There's a council in the sky that meets. So whenever you look at like the Epic of Gilgamesh and all these other stories, and they're talking about the council of the gods, like always, right? They take some of the truth and they subvert it, and they invert it, right? And they try to say that those are the gods that made us, and then they came down, blah, blah, blah. No, Yeshua made the council. There's a council in the sky, guys, and they meet on a regular basis in the sky. And there's also watchers in the sky, and not to be confused with the descendant watchers. So you want to know what's going on in these eclipses and stuff? It's marking the different councils and meetings and like conclusions of their meetings and their watches very intricately, and it's laid out in Scripture to such a point that it's mind-blowing, dude. Like, not being hyperbolic at all. It is insane. And once you start to see it, you understand immediately that this is what's up. The truth is in this direction. So, all right, let me go ahead and play some of this video. I don't really know where it's at. I think I try to do a good job, but we're going to find out. But before that, let me break this down for you, right? So, God's divine counsel. So many cultures, let's see if we get bigger. Many cultures recognize that there is some kind of divine counsel or council among the gods, quote unquote. The online encyclopedia Wikipedia notes the concept of a divine assembly or council is attested in the archaic Sumerian, Akkadian, and Old Babylonian, ancient Egyptian, Babylonian, Canaanite, Israelite, Celtic, ancient Greek, and ancient Roman and Nordic pantheons. These are called some of the oldest texts ever. Of course, once again, Enoch was the first scribe. So, haha. But yeah, there you go. So this was talked about all throughout different polytheistic religions, all the way even into Babylon, right? So there's a council in the sky, guys. Like, the testimony of these ancient cultures is important because ancient myths often have a kernel of truth in them, especially when the myths agree with the Bible on basic facts, such as in the ancient accounts of the flood, they add credence to what the Bible says. All right, moving on. There are a large number of verses in the Bible that point to God having a divine council with whom he consults. Dude, just imagine God like the ultimate supreme, perfect judge, right? Perfect justice and judgment, and he has a council. All right. Psalms 89 has several references to a divine council, some of which are very clear. Psalms 89, 5-8. Let the heavens praise your wonders, Yah, your faithfulness to in the assembly of the holy ones. For who in the skies can be compared to Yah? Who among the sons of God is like Yah? A very awesome God in the council of the holy ones, to be feared more than all those who are around him. The council of the holy ones. Yah, God of armies, who is a powerful one like you, O Yah, and your faithfulness is all around you. All right. Daniel 7, God gave Daniel a vision of the last days, and Daniel 7:10 and 26 portray the heavenly court that will convene at that time. In Daniel 7:8, the man known as the little horn, one of the biblical titles for the person commonly known as the Antichrist, was speaking arrogantly against God. During the last time, God will sit with his divine counsel and give judgment concerning the people on earth. Daniel 7:9. I hate NIV, but nevertheless. As I looked, thrones were set in place, and the Ancient of Days took his seat. His clothing was as white as snow. The hair of his head was white like wool. His throne was flaming with fire, and its wheels were all ablaze. A river of fire was flowing, coming out from before him. Thousands upon thousands attended him. 10,000 times 10,000 stood before him. The court was seated, and the books were opened. He, the Antichrist, will speak against the Most High and oppress his saints and try to change and set time and laws. The saints will be handed over to him for a time, times, and half a time. But the court will sit, and his power will be taken away and completely destroyed forever. But the court will sit. There is a divine council, dude. Okay? Isaiah 14, the devil. But you said in your heart, I will ascend to heaven. I will rise my throne above the stars of God, and I will sit on the mount of assembly in the recesses of the north. I will ascend above the heights of the clouds. I will make myself like the Most High. Okay, clearly alluding, there's something very important about the north and directly above it. And then Lucifer, the little secret king, thinks he's going to go up there and take it over and then be over the courts. The divine council it's why everything happens. Like, we've been so detached from what's going on above us. It's disgusting. Jeremiah 23:16-18. I'll stop reading verses in a second. I'm just making sure y'all understand that. Like, I'm not making any of this up, okay? This is what the Lord of hosts says. Do not listen to the words of the prophets who prophesy to you. They are making you worthless. They speak visions from their own minds, not from the Lord's mouth. They keep on saying to those who despise me, the Lord has said, you will have peace. They have said to everyone who follows the stubbornness of his heart, no harm will come to you. For who has stood in the counsel of the Lord to see and hear his word? Who has paid attention to his word and obeyed? I did not send these prophets, yet they ran with the message. I did not speak to them, yet they prophesied. If they had really stood in my counsel, they would have enabled my people to hear my words and would have turned them back from their evil ways and their evil deeds. Okay, so there's just a few for you. Now let's just get into this. God breaks it down pretty good. There's just no way that we're going to sit here and watch all this, right? So I'm going to go. All right, again, bear with me, dude. Really listen to what he says. Keep in mind everything I broke down for you guys and check it out.
So you see that? So each blossom, it has almonds, okay?
Referring to the, the amount within the lamp.
And then there are knops, flowers, bowls, as all part of that blossom thing, whatever you want to call it. So each one of these has these characteristics. Now, you could see that it said there were 4 in the center and then 3 on each branch. So what that's telling us is there's a total of 22.
Listen.
Okay. So now what's happening is the book of Revelation is telling us about trumpets, and those are the flowers. It's talking about bowls, and it says there's bowls, okay? And then there's knobs. Knobs relate to the door, and the door opens the 7 seals. So you can see the 7 seals, 7 trumpets, 7 bowls are each categorized by each one of these markers. Now, how do we know what they are? Well, they're eclipses. So you'll notice these are red. So in our diagram here, the red means a blood moon. A blood moon is a full lunar eclipse. Then you can also see we have here a red circle. This is a partial lunar eclipse. You'll see on here black with a circle in it. Let's zoom in. We'll show you the details in a second. We're just gonna, you can see how that's like a black in the center. That's a full solar eclipse.
This is about to blow your mind.
So here's another one, full solar eclipse, full solar eclipse. You see how this one is black, okay? Circle with white in it, that's a partial solar eclipse. So what that means is when you see the black, that's solar eclipse, red is lunar eclipse. So there's a sequence of eclipses that relate to these almond blossoms, okay? And when did they start? Well, they started back in the blood moons, the 4 lunar tetrad, okay, which you see here back in 2014. In 2014, April 15th, there was a blood moon. Then October 8th, same year, blood moon. April 4th, blood moon. September 28th, 2015, blood moon. So 4 consecutive blood moons.
Which would maybe mark, the start of the implementation of this calendar. That was, again, the book of Enoch was removed. I guess I need to do this too. All right. I know, guys, you just got to pay attention. You got to pay attention. and really try and focus. But just so everyone knows, in case somehow they don't, the Book of Enoch, the Roman Catholic Church gave a decree to remove it from the face of the earth. Okay, it was very successfully removed, but it has surfaced in a small Ethiopian canon. And although it seems like the findings of the Dead Sea Scrolls have been heavily manipulated, I looked deeper into it over the course of the last few days. It does appear that the finding may have actually happened, and it just everything about it has been grabbled. They grabbled a lot of it. Okay, and in those texts, everything references the Enochian calendar. Of course, this surfaced in a small Ethiopian tribe. God preserved the word as he said it was. And Enoch, it tells you, I do not take up my discourse with anyone right now. It's for an end-time generation, a remote generation, a distant generation, okay? So he told Daniel, shut up the words of the book, seal them to the end. People will come to and fro, and knowledge will increase, okay? Enoch has resurfaced, and it is very important that we regain understanding of the calendar and the signs and the seasons and the days and the hours and every aspect of what the meticulously beautiful timepiece above us is trying to show us, right? We're living in a time where we're having crazy celestial alignments and events happen in the sky. No one knows what's going on. So just so you understand, that's the foundation for all of this, okay? The Enochian calendar was followed by all of the people that originally followed Yeshua, and before that, in all the original scripts it's referenced, and it's been heavily grabbled and then conformed into this paganistic representation of pagan gods, which are not fairy tales. They stem from the Watchers, and everyone is going around partaking in their system of worship without understanding what it is. Just so you know. All right. And I was saying all that to say, like, look what happened, right? We have 4 consecutive blood moons, right? As 2014 starts, and we need to re-implement this calendar so we understand what's going on.
14, April 15th, there was a blood moon. Then October 8th, same year, blood moon. April 4th, blood moon. September 28th, 2015, blood moon. So 4 consecutive blood moons form the 4 shafts, center shaft of the menorah. See that? Okay. So then what happened in this one in 2015, this was the year of Jubilee, there was a solar eclipse on March 20th. So March 20th was a solar eclipse. Now this is what it's talking about in Revelation chapter 6, verse 7. It said the sun will be turned to sackcloth and the moon will turn to blood. What that means is that you have a solar eclipse and then you have a lunar eclipse 2 weeks later. It's not just random eclipses. These are 2 weeks later. So that's what that means. So then this begins to form a pattern and structure, which then continues our 22 almond blossoms. So we have a solar eclipse when the sun will be turned to sackcloth. Solar eclipse, March 20th. And the moon will turn to blood, April 4th. Okay? Blood moon, lunar tetrad, full lunar eclipse. And same thing, when the sun turned to sackcloth, September 13th, and the moon turned to blood, September 28th. So this gives us the pattern of 4 lunar tetrad. But the process in space between each of these is 6 months. This is exactly what it says in the book of Esther. When the king held a feast 180 days, that's 6 months. Okay? 6 months. So that
6 months only according to the Enochian calendar. Not this nonsense of confusion. 30 days, 31 days, 28 days. Oh, 10th month, but it's really the 12th month. All this nonsense. Okay? 180 days. That's exactly 6 months of 30 days.
Gives us days. That's 6 months. Okay? 6 months. So that gives us a marker of time of the duration between each eclipse. So each one of these must fall in a duration of 6 months apart. And what they mark is the 7 seals, the 7 trumpets, and the 7 bowls. Okay? So you can see that this...
Now he integrates an interpretation of Revelation in here that I'm not stamping or going against. So again, always apply discernment. We're just trying to break down the grabble of the calendar, the Grabylonian calendar.
Goes in a sequence of 4, 4, 4, 4. We showed you in the other video that the duration between them is 77 days, 77 days, 77 days, then 162 days. We found that in Genesis 5 in the previous video. But you can see how they go by 4, 4, 4, and 4. And let's see, do we have 2 more? Yep, we got 2 more. So, thus concluding our 22 almond blossoms by the great solar eclipse over America, April 8th, 2024. Remember all the hype? Okay, back in 2017, August 21st. Well, that was a major sign. Yes, it was a major sign. And just a few weeks later, what do we have? The Revelation 12 sign. So you can see the Revelation 12 sign right here associated with the full solar eclipse and 27.
Very interesting stuff here. Maybe I should have played this one first. I can't remember. There's so much information, dude. But check this out. Maybe this will help give a little clarity too. We'll go back and forth. I hope y'all can just pay attention. I'm sorry, I don't know how else to do this.
There are 182 days in the Enoch calendar over 6 months. Well, the lunar cycle is shorter than that. The lunar cycle is 29 and a half days in a month. So it's short. It's not 182. It's 177. You can see it right here. Now, what we're looking at...
Again, we get this number from Genesis itself. That's the most gravy of all of this. Genesis just straight up lays it out for you, bro. With how long people lived. Tell me you don't serve an awesome God where the foresight of that is just beyond human comprehension. The amount of time people lived was used for future generations encoding of the calendar as an affirmation.
This is a menorah. A menorah has 7 lamps. A menorah also has almond blossoms. We determined that these almond blossoms, which are a total of 22 almond blossoms, relate to the eclipses. So what happens is you have a pattern that we discovered. This is what's described in the scriptures, where you have a solar eclipse and then you have a lunar eclipse. Okay, blood moon. So there was a solar eclipse in July 13th, 2018. 2 weeks later, there's a blood moon, lunar eclipse, July 27, 2018. Okay, this is a pattern that we saw. And what happens is this pattern goes in a precise sequence. See, these are solar eclipses. See, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. The average of those, you can see it can differ slightly, 178 days, 176 days, 178 days, but the average is 177. So remember we saw the 177 days? Well, that's a leap cycle with the lunar. Now, we also saw, remember how we saw 162 days? Well, what happens is you have 4 of those in a row consecutively, okay? And the 4th one, the duration of time is 162 days.
Yeah, right. And again, this is encoded in Genesis, this number. If you think that all these numbers are just, the sky is working perfectly with all of these numbers encoded in Genesis over and over and over, you're a coincidence theorist. You're in the wrong salute.
All of this is coded in the genealogy of Genesis 5. I mean, this is just astounding. So that's what the numbers mean, 187. So this is proving everything I'm telling you is totally the truth. It's totally accurate. It is the Enoch calendar, this whole pattern and order and sequence of eclipses. And there are also 22 of these where you have it 2 weeks ahead of time. You have in this example, you have a lunar eclipse. 2 weeks later, you have a solar eclipse. Okay, so you have 1, 2, 3, 4. Then they alternate. Okay. Then you have lunar eclipse, 1, 2, 3, 4. Consecutive lunar eclipses. Then you have 1, 2, 3, 4 solar eclipses. Then you have 1, 2, 3, 4 lunar eclipses. All of these fall within a 6-month window consecutively for 10 and a half years. Okay, remember how we saw 11 years? 11 years is the...
You aren't going to get that part. Back over here. So I'm trying to make this coherent for you guys.
17. Remember, that was August 21st, 2017. All right, and now there's another one that's marking the 7th bowl, April 8th, 2024.
We're gonna skip
Here's
that.
7 trumpets and then 7 bowls. So here's a bowl
Which
1.
later, if y'all want me to go back to this part of it, I will, where they break all this down. But I'm gonna skip it for now. I'm just trying to make y'all get an understanding of the actual years. This is gonna be too complicated too.
You can see this continues. Then there's 7
Actually,
bowls.
you know what? I think you guys need to hear it. So whatever.
Thing taking place. But at the same time, we can see the trumpet judgments beginning to manifest. Okay? So that's what these other lunar eclipses. Now remember, every single one of these has a other eclipse 2 weeks before it, giving us a clear marker of all these eclipses. So then we have the seals, and we're not marking this one because no man knows the day or the hour. So that's why when the Son of Man comes in the cloud, we can't say distinctly what that day is, or because that's categorized by the 7th seal. But then the Revelation 12 sign, that did happen. Okay. And now we're beginning to see, coronavirus, we're beginning to see.
Okay. I'm pretty sure it's got things started. It's a ball. I'm not really sure, but I commented. Hopefully I can make them up. Now, if I can get to the part, there's some serious gravy in here that I think y'all may be ready for now that y'all weren't earlier.
364 days times 5 is 1,820. Next, go back to our almond blossoms. Let's go back to our menorah. And what we did is we found these various eclipses taking place, and we can actually date them back to 2010. And there were significant ones. The reason we're saying these are the almond blossoms, because that's starting with the blood moon in 2014. But then what we did is, once we applied these priests, okay, there's 24 of these priests, and what we're doing is we're listing their name. This is the name, and this is their number. So when we did this, and we went and we looked at the different pre-cycles, and we'll explain a little bit more in the pre-cycles as we go. I just want to show you the connection of the pre-cycle and their number, which corresponds to eclipses. Okay. So what you can see is there's a priest. He serves for 1 week. Remember how he serves 1 day? So there's a week. And then during that week, there's an eclipse. And what happens is we can see a sequence. You can see the number 3, 4, 3, 5, 4. So they seem to move in a sequence. Now there's 24 of these, okay? And they correspond to every 6 months, okay? So
every eclipse. That's probably just coincidence too.
Said 25 is giving me 2 almond blossoms on the menorah. So what just happened? Okay, we saw in 6 months. So we saw in Genesis 5 is giving us 6 months. 182 days is the Enoch calendar over 6 months. We saw the equinoxes. The distance between the spring equinox and the fall equinox is 187 days. Okay, so the Enoch calendar, you keep track of the solar cycle and the lunar cycle.
Oh, probably just a coincidence again.
Okay, so that's why we have the understanding of the eclipses, because we also see that Enoch describes it. So then we take 187, or we take 364 minus 187. Now we have the lunar cycle of 177.
Oh,
days
probably another
over
coincidence.
6 months. Okay, and then there's a sequence of those. On average, it's 187 4 times, right? We saw 4 eclipses, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then the 4th one is 162 days. Okay, and then it goes again, 177, 177, 162. Okay, so these are coded in the genealogy in Genesis chapter 5. So we have an eclipse procession taking place, a lunar cycle.
All right, guys, you better get ready for the gravy, because the gravy is about to come. I hope that y'all kept up decently so far, because here comes the gravy.
Okay, so that's what it's showing us in Genesis 5 when we look at these numbers. That's what 177 means. That's what 162 means. Okay. Now, there's more. So, we can see the age of, this is Jared, this is Noah, okay? And these are the age that they lived. Now, we get to Jared. Jared lived 962.
Again, the 5 generations that encode the calendar, which again, every 5 years is when you get a leap week. And this is because the king takes an additional week at the end of the 6 months to let you understand that.
Years.
It's also, once again, it's encoded in the very math of them counting the people, the men of war, prior to and after the 40 years of wandering in the wilderness. And it gives you exactly 5.
We have another significant number here. You can see it's the number 37. And if we take 962 divided by 26, it's 37. Now this is Lamech. Lamech lived 777 years. Okay, so 777 divided by 37 is 21. Now, interesting enough, we find Noah lived 950 years. Well, if we take 364 multiplied by 2, 728. We subtract from 950, we get 222. So now we have a 777. We have a 222. I know a lot of times you guys see numbers. Oh, I keep seeing numbers. All right. What is 222? Well, it's a lot of things, but you can see here it relates to Noah.
Okay, now this part, I do agree with him for sure. It clicked with me big time. And I really want everyone to pay attention to this part, please.
And again, 222 divided by 37 is 6. So what is the prophetic meaning? What is the interpretation of the number 777 and 222? Basically, what it's telling us judgment for the millennium. Now, the number 777, you see right here, 777 relates to the millennium. Yes, there's a millennium. That's what we're talking about in this video. Is the millennium left Jesus Christ? Will be kings and priests. Okay. So you can see, so Lamech lived 777 years. What does that mean?
This is, I didn't have time to break it down for you, but this is one of the illustrations that can help you grasp the Enochian calendar. I'll have some more streams coming. I have no choice but to do more calendar streams, you know. I don't know what's more important than this. Also, of course, there are additional ways to map this out and illustrate it. And it has every single aspect of existence explained perfectly. Perfectly. So the calendar we have right now doesn't, but the oldest calendar ever given to Enoch by Uriel, right? An archangel, is to this day perfect. And it's been done away with and substituted for some pagan calendar that doesn't even work. So anyway, sorry for the interruption.
Relates to the millennium. Yes, there's a millennium. That's what we're talking about in this video. Is the millennium left Jesus Christ? Will be kings and priests. Okay. So you can see, so Lamech lived 777 years. What does that mean? Well, it means that that's the entering in of the millennium. So it was Noah that entered the millennium. So Lamech died precisely before the flood, at or before the flood, okay? Noah passed through. So he passed through the other side, entered the new era, the new millennium, the new 777. Now we saw that Noah was attributed to the number 222. Well, 222 relates to the second millennium. So in the second millennium, there was a judgment, okay, and then there was a rest. Noah's name means rest. And rest is like the millennium or entering a new era.
Guys, are you putting all this together? None of these people's names at the beginning and none of their lifespans were a coincidence. This is all meticulously and beautifully crafted plan by the Creator. And it's all intrinsically tied into the sky itself. Which is all about Yeshua, once again, okay? And his birth and his return.
And then there was a rest. Noah's name means rest. And rest is like the millennium or entering a new era. Okay, so the judgment takes place, okay? And then you enter a new era. So our number before that we saw, 37, okay, 37, if you multiply 37 by 3, 6, 9, 12, etc., you can see.
Just to respond, wouldn't this be strong evidence of allegory? Yeah, but that's the thing, right? Like humans were like, oh, this is literal or allegorical. No, it's coded, like it's layered, and that's why it says the carnal mind cannot understand the scriptures. You have to have discernment given to you by the Holy Spirit, and that's why if anyone actually does pursue these things, they find out that when you read the scripture, it'll apply to your life differently every time you read the same verse, and it's stuff like that, right? So these people really exist. It's a literal account, and the literal account has an allegorical meaning in the sense it's telling you the story of the whole entire existence, right? So it's not either or, to answer that question.
So our number before that we saw, 37, okay, 37, if you multiply 37 by 3, 6, 9, 12, etc., you can see you multiply 37 times 3, 111, 222, okay? So the first millennium is 111. Noah lived in the 222, okay? So he lived in the 222. And that was a time of the same pattern of judgment taking place, then entering rest. Okay. And then Lamech, he lived 777 years as a type of the future, the 7th millennium. Okay. So that's the 222 and the 777. Now you also notice the other numbers, 21 and 6. Okay. Now, the 24 priests, they go through a series, 1 through 24, in the courses. And in the first week of the first month, which we began in 2014 with number 3. Now, there was a reason in the Dead Sea Scrolls where they started number 3. I can't remember it right now, but it starts
because they grabbled all of it.
Okay. But number 3 makes sense because we take 3 and we multiply it by 37, it's what? 111. Just like 6 times 37 is 222. 3 times 37 is 111. So that's our first cycle.
Basically what happened was they discovered these scrolls. It appears that they might have actually happened. You think that didn't even happen. I looked into it. Very possible it did happen. They went and grabbed a bunch of the freaking scripts. And then people started trying to piece together what was left. And little did they know, one of the major truths that probably was supposed to be found was overlooked. And the Enochian calendar was able to start to be pieced together, and how they all used it. They all used it back then, and exactly how you could start to piece some of the aspects together as to how they understood it. This seeped through the cracks of the grabble. It appears, right? And so I'm not telling you, I know for a fact I wasn't there, but I do know that Yeshua and Yah keep their word, and we were told that this book would come back.
Okay. So in the first year, our first year, the calendar was 2014. Our first in order of the priesthood was actually number 3. And then what we learn, of course, is after 5 years, we add 7 days. And we go through a procession of these courses. So then we go, after 5 years, we go to priest course 24. So the priest course of 24 would then appear on the first week of the first month.
Which we showed you earlier, how they correlate to all the eclipses.
Years. So we can see here the year 2014. Our first priest course was the number 3. In 2015, in the first week, in the first month, okay, was number 7. So you see, you go 3, 7, 11, 15, 19, then 24. So these are 5 years. So every 5 years, you can see it goes from pre-course 2014, 3, pre-course 2019.
The course of the priest in every 5 years, every 5 years, every 5 years, every 5 years. It made it abundantly clear when to add the leap year.
24.
This is what's going on above you. There's a council of angels going on above you relative to all of the actions of what's going on in the earth, all of the events, and the timeline and how it applies to the timeline of existence as a whole. That's what's going on. That's what you've been removed from. This is one of the huge reasons that they've told you all the fairy tales about what goes on there, how we've been able to predict it more accurately than they did back then, which is all a lie, easily falsifiable. This is because they do not want you to understand the synchronistic, aspect of creation, which makes it very evident you are living in something very important, and there's something way bigger than all of us or any human lifespan could ever understand or ever grasp or ever think that they can ever manipulate or have a say in.
So it's moving back, okay? And 2024, it's 21, 18, 15, 12, 9, 6, and back to 3. So after that period of time, the priest courses would have concluded. So I only found this out today. However, this other page I did years ago. Amazing. And look at, here they are, guys. Watch this. So
Gravy incoming.
the priest course for our first year is number 3. Remember how we saw that? But then it goes backwards. But watch what it does. So you got 3, and then the next one is 24. Okay? And then the next one is 21. That's what we saw, our 777. Okay? And then the next one is, 18. 18 times 37 is 666. So it's in the 6th millennium of the beast. 666. Okay? We have to overcome the beast. And then we go back 15. 15 times 37 is 555. Okay? And then we continue. We go from 15. We go back. Go 12. Times 37, 444, etc.
These are all cubed, of course.
Okay. Guys, I drew this years ago, and I was astonished to see today this lined up perfectly. Now, the other thing you can see here is, remember the priest, it said they served in the temple every 7 days. Remember how it said they serve in the north, east, south, and west? Well, you can also see that with this pattern. You can also position it in a way where you can see these are gates. Okay, so you have east, west, north, south.
Bro, are y'all, please tell me y'all are grasping the gravy right now. I mean, this is crazy, especially if you've read any Enoch.
See that with this pattern. You can also position it in a way where you can see these are gates. Okay, so you have east, west, north, south. Okay. So now if you just turn it, now you can see east, west, south, north. That's exactly what we saw. Remember here, the 24 elders, they serve 7 days, east, west, north, south. So this is amazing, guys. We have the proper order, the proper download of the proper time. And I am honored to do this. I must.
All right, yeah, this dude is crushing. Thinks the Earth's a magic spinning ball. Kind of hard to get through for some people maybe, but like I said, I know that this is a lot of information to take in. I might wrap the stream up here just because of that. I don't want to overload people, but there's no reason this should get censored. You should be able to watch as many times as you want to, pause it, take notes. This had me working, my mind going like 100 miles an hour. A bunch of ideas. One thing, because people keep asking me to sell merchandise, right? It's just something I never thought I would do, but I think I'm going to. I've had someone reach out and say, like, dude, you should maybe use hemp clothing or something. So I might do that. Especially when I take off and we start going around the nation. I have no way to make money. I'm just going to be dependent on whatever we can scrape up or what God provides. And anyway, so thinking about that, I was thinking, well, there's sundials that match up perfectly with the Enochian calendar. I'm thinking about getting some of these made and selling them, and not even trying to make money on it. I just want everyone to have one. Okay. And so it's just simply, it's a certain type of sundial. It's got the stick in the middle. You can get a replication, and it matches up perfect with the Enochian calendar. Another thing I'm going to do, and this is going to take me a while probably, I'm going to intricately design a calendar the best that I can. Okay. And when I do that, I'm going to also allow people to get that. Okay. Neither one of those are with monetary incentive. I'm just saying they'd be available at the same place, wherever that is. So pretty cool. This is all ties into sacred geometry. And so once you have the right outline of everything, so you know all the details, and you have a key to decode the sky, and it's like the most spit on, undermined compilation of texts ever. Okay, so there you go. It's gonna get way crazier. I don't want to get too far. As you saw, guys, there's so much involved in this. This is not as simple as wonder how many days are in a month, which there are 30 days exactly, and every month there are 12 months. That's 360, perfect circle. You add the 4 days of the solstices and the equinoxes, 364. Every 5 years, you add a leap week. Works forever, never stops working, will work forever, has worked forever, will be accurate until the end. We don't need your little pagan names of weeks, days of weeks and months and all this nonsense that doesn't even work. Okay. But when you start to figure things out, then you start to see stuff like we saw right there. All the eclipses line up perfectly with the priestly courses. So during the conclusion of the priestly course, there's an eclipse. Okay. We're seeing eclipses at very particular times. Councils are convening, and we're seeing signs in the sky about them. Okay, so when you break down all the wizardry cast over the true birth of Yeshua, and you understand the conjunction, right, leading up to Yeshua's birthday, now we do have a conjunction coming up very soon. Do they try to invert this for something crazy that would sound wild if I even tried to point out what I think they might be trying to do, right? Like take a conjunction and invert it for some type of like birth of one of whatever they want to do. I don't know. I don't know. But the conjunction is very important, right? That's a sign that I haven't broke down yet, but it's a sign. And these eclipses are signs. These blood moons are signs. All of this are signs, and they're all about the councils up above us. There are literally councils of angels. Okay, and an archangel came and told Enoch the freaking calendar, and we still don't know what it is. I'm confused about the 4 days the sun doesn't go around on those days. No, the 4 days that aren't added into the 30 days perfectly are the 4 days a year, right? You have your 2 solstices and your 2 equinoxes. Right. So yeah, there you go. I know there's a lot of questions, dude. I probably won't know all the answers anyway, but December isn't the 12th month. That's so stupid. It's literally called December. It's because they're forced to put out some of their gravel in front of you. I think it's God that does that. Like they have to. It's just right in front of you that December isn't the 12th month. It's literally still has the name that means 10th month. Okay, so the year begins in March. Now start to think about how the Growlers are obsessed with 322 on March 22nd. I wonder why. Okay, this is where the year really begins. Okay, it's in the 3rd month. It's actually the 1st. February's the 12th. Okay, you don't need leap years. You don't need anything like that. And the only reason that there is the leap week every 5 years is because of the way the councils work. Okay, there's an additional week. The king has an additional week. And this correlates all the way into, like he's showing you, the different time periods of judgment and then rest. And there is, of course, the final millennial reign. The millennial reign resembles rest, represents rest, right? So it breaks down all of this. And then what you do is when you start to add all this, you're going to get expanded into a crazy, intricate calendar. And it's going to be centered around sacred geometry. And it works perfectly. Like with the amount of sun, with what the sun looks like, with how much moon you see, with what the moon looks like, with the day and night cycles. You can actually make clocks with this. And I think that's what I'm going to do, is make a really nice looking Enochian breakdown. You can put a clock, you can put like an hour hand in it, and it works perfectly. You can have another one where you put a week hand in it, right? There are clocks that are for weeks, and it works perfectly, breaking it down with the next layer of the clock. So maybe that's what I'll sell. I'll try to find a way to make those and then just sell them for like free, whatever, and I think they're super cool. And it's a way to kind of break through this. And if we all work together, then we can figure out the bottom of this. And then we're supposed to, I think this is being revealed to us so we can understand what's going on. And they're going down swinging, trying to make sure you have no idea what's going on. No, This guy thinks that we're in the tribulation, thinks that Trump could be the Antichrist. I don't know about all that. But what I do know is we are definitely not taking heed to what's going on in the sky. And we probably should. So there's my like introduction stream on the calendar. I think that's pretty much all I got. Yeah, but actually, I want to watch this for a second.
The beast being revealed. We're seeing the peace deal. So we're in Revelation. So this is the reason I'm doing all this, guys, is because people say, "Oh, Leland, you're a false prophet. You're lying. Donald Trump's not the Antichrist." Yes, he is. Okay, and I'm giving you the source of the proof and the information of how I'm saying this stuff. Okay, so I told you the precise date the Antichrist will be revealed, and Donald Trump did it. He said, "I am the chosen one." Okay, so it happened.
Which is crazy. That's his take. When he sends out the tweet and he says, "I'm the chosen one," they're saying that's when he puts himself in place of the creator. I don't know. It's pretty crazy. I'm not going to get into that. I don't know. The tribulation hasn't started yet because the church is removed. Okay. Well, pre-tribulation rapture is not anywhere in the scriptures, so I'll just stick with the scriptures. You should definitely store with snapbacks too, bro. Yeah, if I make a hat, it'll be a snapback. No one knows the day nor the hour of the coming of Yeshua. That's correct. Is Trump the Antichrist? I don't know. People have been saying the U.S. president's the Antichrist probably since freaking they started having presidents.
Now, that happened on a precise day because you would have to understand these 7 seals, 7 trumpets, 7 bowls. Okay, so we have this now quick review. I know this is a lot of information, a lot of numbers. I don't want this to be confusing. I'm trying to make it simple. But we have the importance of 6 months, the first 7 years. So
right.
And then you understand the world you're in. You understand the world around you. We are, in fact, in the tribulation. Now, the apocalypse is 14 years. So here we're showing you the first 7 years. So in Joseph's interpretation of the dream, there are 7 good years, 7 bad years. Okay, 7 bad years is the tribulation. Now, what we can see is there are durations of time of 3.5 years. So this began here and continues to here in a duration of 3.5 years. Then what you can see is after that, that duration of time is characterized by the 7 lamps. So we saw the menorah, there were 7 lamps. Those 7 lamps is the Revelation chapters 2 and 3, the 7 ecclesia, the 7 churches, 7 lamps in the menorah.
Yeah,
then
the councils. The councils.
Into a time marked by the blood moons. So now you can see in red, we have the blood moons categorized. Okay?
Starting in 2014. So anyway, I'll link these videos. I'll link the PDF of the calendar. But my man Leland, he's cutting through some wizardry. He's in his early videos, he's talking about hemispheres. I just couldn't even bear to listen to it. I commented. I said, "My man, great work. There's a geocentric stationary planet, the firmament, and if you don't apply that piece of understanding, you're not going to be able to fully understand this." But he's been looking into it for years. I critiqued a bunch of stuff, fact-checked him. He's not just making stuff up. Puts a lot of stuff together. I've given a bunch of pieces of what I think additional to it. But so hopefully this has got some clarity for you guys. So simply in conclusion, again, the Enoch calendar was used by everybody. This points out the feast. It helps you understand the sky, the cyclical nature of the sky, and how you're supposed to partake in the feast. These feasts are not some type of rules that are supposed to hold you down and be hard to follow. They're actually to make you understand the importance of certain things, to have gratitude for certain things, and to actually help you get closer to the Creator and understand Him more. Same thing with the Sabbath. Not some rule where you're not allowed to do anything on the Sabbath. It's actually to help you out. And also it's to build your faith, because say you're in a financial turmoil or something and you have to take a whole day off every week. And so it's like, I really need this money, but no, you have to have faith. God will provide you. It's so that you can rest. Okay. So it's a good thing. And everyone knew this and everyone applied it. Everyone around the world knew about the Enochian calendar. Everyone. The people that hated God knew it, okay, because it was just an accurate calendar. And again, Archangel is the one that brought the calendar to Enoch and told him. And he was the first scribe, and he wrote it down for everyone else, okay? And again, if you think Enoch's not right and just the 66 biblical canonized text, then I cannot take you seriously, because that's a joke of a stance. Because for one, what a coincidence, is 66 books. The original King James version had 14 more books. So if you say King James version only, well, you're just making a contradictory statement, and it sounds stupid, because there were originally 14 more books. And then you'll say, oh, those don't count. Well, you sound like a real honest, good representation of Yeshua. Let me tell you, you're just lying at that point. So there were 14 additional books, the apocryphal text. In addition to this, King James wrote a book on demonology and called himself the Vicar of Christ. And there are 66 books, and they've taken a ton of them out, including, most importantly, the ones that tell you about the end. They took them out before we got too close to the end, didn't they? So now people aren't knowing what's going on. It tells you stuff like the Antichrist's beast image will be accepted and seen all over the world before he reveals himself. It tells you that he will actually take credit for moving the sun and the moon. It tells you that Nimrod was beheaded. It tells you that then you can understand the Antichrist, the son of perdition, suffers a mortal head wound and appears to come back. It explains all kinds of things that were removed from you, and it's created this huge state of confusion. They've come in with the interpretive descriptions of what you should actually think, talking about there's a pre-tribulation rapture, there's nothing to worry about, you're good to go. Pre-tribulation, it's nowhere in the scriptures, but just listen to the person up there. The next to last book in the canon is called Jude. It's a letter of Jude. Okay, it's one singular page, and it says, as Enoch, the seventh from Adam, prophesied, and it quotes the book of Enoch word for word. The next to last book of the book that says this is for the end. So the book before Revelation's all about the end is Jude, the one page. It's a letter right before the last book, all about the end. And it says, as Enoch, the seventh from Adam, prophesied, and it quotes Enoch word for word. And that book opens up, the book of Enoch, telling you this is for an end time generation. Okay, now if we go to Matthew, when the Sadducees pressed Yeshua, and he says, okay, you're the Messiah, whatever. Well, Moses said that if a husband dies, then the brother is to take the wife. So Yeshua, what happens if that happens 7 times? Brother dies, brother dies, brother dies. Who gets the wife in heaven? And he says, you know not the power of God, nor the scriptures, for there is no marriage in heaven. You're like that of the angels. But nowhere in your little dogmatic take of the canon ever does it explain to you that there is a marriage in heaven. But it's explained in Enoch. This means, by deduction, objectively, irrefutably, not arguably or debatably, Yeshua referred to Enoch as scripture. At that time, it was still considered to be scripture. You mean the time where the Messiah himself was here? Yeah, that's right, guys. He referred to it as scripture. This book was removed from you. The Roman Catholic Church gave a decree to remove from the face of the earth. Nothing goes beyond what Yeshua can control. This was all on purpose. This was all known this was going to happen, so that at the end, we'd be given some truth that couldn't be super grabbled in time, and that way we could see through the wizardry and the spells and have discernment in preparation for what is coming. Okay, and again, he told Daniel straight up that shut up the words, seal the book till the end. People will come to and fro, and knowledge will increase. This is the sealed book of David. Enoch has surfaced in a small Ethiopian tribe, one of the first countries mentioned in the canon. In Genesis, it breaks down the very Enochian calendar right in front of your face, with all of the people, with their very names meaning something, and all of the how long they literally lived was for a reason, so that you could see the Enochian calendar was embedded in the very initial aspects of the lineage on earth itself. This has all been a very intricately planned thing, way beyond us. And when people want to sit here and point fingers at God and say, why would he do this? Why would he do that? It's incredibly hilarious, because y'all can't even understand what he's doing. None of us can. It's way beyond, way over us. And as we get a little bit closer to the truth and we discover more things, all you find out is, wow, this is mind-blowingly amazing, the way that this was all crafted. And if you want to explain it away to men doing it for thousands of years, whatever protects your cognitus, you think you're the special boy, you think you can become enlightened, you think you know everything, you think the Luciferian doctrine is true, whatever it is, if you've predetermined what you think, you'll never find the truth. It requires you to remove your pride, to swallow your pride, and to unequivocally seek and speak truth, and to hold steadfast and prove all things to be true, and to not partake in the works of darkness, but rather expose and reprove them. And this is the truth. It doesn't matter if you like it. I don't tell you doctrines that tickle your ears. I tell you what I think the truth is, what God has shown me, what I've found. And I'm just some dude. I don't know everything. I make mistakes. I'm wrong about things. I could be wrong about a lot of things. What I give you, what I feel is right to give you. And I encourage people to maybe swallow your pride and relook into some of this stuff. And you will start to find out there are things at work way beyond us. Way beyond us. And again, the entire sky is a very meticulous, intricate timepiece so that you know or have an idea of what's going on. There's actually a council of angels up there. They meet on a regular basis. Okay, they have appointed times and paths, and they're meeting, and it has to do with what we're experiencing on Earth, and it has to do with coming towards the end of the timeline. Eventually, the timeline ends, and the entire sky was crafted about the story of Yeshua, the Word that was here when everything was created. It became flesh. Yeshua was killed, resurrected. He serves as your atonement, but you have to repent and follow the law. He did not do away with it. He fulfilled the law. Okay, you still have to repent. You don't just get to say Jesus, and then you get to go do whatever you want to do. You don't get to put water on your head when you're born, and then everything is good. None of that has anything to do with what the true teaching is. Okay. And then we fast forward now, we're starting to see incredible signs, and it's all revolving around the very story of Yeshua. That's the truth. That's why you were removed from the calendar, so you don't know what's going on. You don't know how to follow the feast. You're flooded with all kinds of doctrine of men that tell you things that tickle your ear. Good will be bad. Bad will be good. Father will turn on son. Mother will turn on daughter. Mother-in-law will turn on daughter-in-law. This will happen in the end. It's already starting to happen. Okay? Families are broken up all over the place. People disagree with everything, and those people that maybe say that you go and tell your dad that he taught you wrong about the Bible this whole time, it's very possibly going to create a huge divide. You have to stand up and speak the truth no matter what. You have to do what Yeshua is leading you to do, and you have to stand up strong in the face of societal ostracism and any type of attack coming from the adversary, whether or not the person actually knows that they're carrying that attack on behalf of the adversary is irrelevant. Unbeknownst to them, they're attacking you, okay? And they're going to attack you whenever you're getting close to the truth. So you have to just stand up, and it's time to grow up. It's time to put your big boy pants on. Stop skirting around the truth. All right. So there you go. There's the truth. Again, very simple, right? Enochian calendar, 12 months, 30 days. That gives you 360, perfect circle, divided up perfectly on what the sky does around us, around the center point, over the center of the earth, right? 360 days. And then you actually add 4 days every year because of the solstices and the equinoxes. That gives you 364. And then every 5 years, you have a leap week. And this is lined out to you in the scripture. It's about the actual councils and the king and when the feasts are taking there. Okay, so nothing is by coincidence. What we experience on earth and what we see in the sky from the earth is all about what's going on in the heavens up above us, and it's something that you will never fully understand. But if you don't at least understand parts of it, then you will just wander aimlessly around, super lost, and you will never actually know the importance of what's going on above you. And that was what this was all about. They know, my man, they know. They're watching the sky. They're watching the sky. They know. So wouldn't you want to equip yourself with knowledge and know the truth? We're living through something that's crazy. I don't make claims to know that we're in the end or anything like that, but we are living in crazy times. And I think a big part of it is that we've been detached from the times themselves. All right, there's my closing rant. Let's see what you are talking about. Everyone in D-Live, thanks for kicking it. We got 58 people. You are the best. Preach it, repent, and believe. John 3:3, born again. Indeed, you must repent. Thank you for the diamond. Thanks for all the lemons. Let me throw up the chat. The chest. All right, I'm distributing the lemons in 30 seconds. So yeah, there you go. There's my take. I know not everyone agrees with me, but if you've watched my streams at all, you should know that's the last thing that's going to ever have anything to do with what I feel I should say. Right? So I'm just giving you all my take, man. And it makes the most sense. And then the first book in the canon, no matter how much I try to grapple things, like still literally the ages of the people tell you about the Enochian calendar. So look into it, look into the councils. I'll drop the links. I'll drop the calendar. It's an electronic PDF version of the calendar, so you can try to follow it and maybe understand it. You have to look over it, look through the table of contents, some of the key aspects to understanding it. I'll link this dude's channel. Watch everything with discernment. And there you go. I'll work on maybe making a couple clocks, and then we'll cover this more in depth maybe in the future. Just make sure I didn't miss anything. I think I saw like a super chat. Just a second. Yeah, I wasn't kidding when I told you guys that the calendar stream is just, the calendar's a lot, man. Grizzly, thank you for the $5 super chat. You're the man. Much appreciated. Let me make sure I didn't miss anybody on here. Research the Hindu calendar. Maybe. Yeah, I mean, it's just pagan polytheism. It's from the Watchers, though. It wasn't all fake. Actually, that's a good idea, Vader Bear. I forgot. For this video. All right, let me just. I got so much stuff everywhere. All right. Share screen. All right, just a sec. Let me check this out. Make sure I didn't miss anybody. All right, good on PayPal. Kyle, thank you for the $11 on Cash App. Much appreciated. You're the man. Forrest, Grabble for calendar babble. Pearls for pigs. Thank you very much for the super chat. Much appreciated. Or for the Cash App. And I think we're good over here. All right, we're good on Patreon. Y'all tell me if you don't want me to put your name. I was going to make a little thing that scrolls across and says the patrons to shout them out. If you don't want your name on there for some reason, let me know. Just message me on there. Thanks, Whitsitt. Thank you, Steve and me, for $10. Much appreciated. You're awesome. And no problem. Glad to do it. All right, let's check out Vader Bear's video.
That's crazy.
What is that?
That's crazy.
That's pretty wild, bro. I don't know what that is. It looks almost like it could be like a craft, to be honest. Fireballs of different sizes flying all around together, parallel to the ground from west to east over South SLC Valley. That was pretty crazy, dude. Well, I'm not sure what that was, though. I've seen some crazy stuff in the sky too, man. All right, so maybe this will add some, a little bit of context to maybe the importance of like the conjunction coming up and all this other stuff, right? Like, I read to you the importance of the conjunction relative to the birth of Yeshua. The entire sky, everything about it is about Yeshua. So there you go. All right, I'm gonna get out of here. We're about to hit 2 hours, but thanks everybody for kicking it. Been real cool. I'll work on some of the merge and figure some of that stuff out. And I'll have to do. It's gonna take some time, but I'll try and design like a real good breakdown of it all, and then we'll try and make really cool clocks right? Two different types, where we have the hour hand going around, and then we have the week hand going around, and you can see it and understand how the sky's a clock. The Enochian calendar is the only accurate way to break it down. It's the only one that doesn't have to constantly be changed and updated. And they hid that from you. It's that simple. And understand, like he said, when you get the illustration, I know a lot of people need illustrations, and I feel you understand. I'm going to try and get a real good one for you. I'll make it. Maybe design it on here, right? So it won't be handwritten like some of his stuff was. And you'll start to realize what Enoch's telling you when he's telling you about like coming in through portals, and you can't even understand all of the descriptions of the sky in Enoch until you start to put together the right calendar. So there you go. Hopefully it didn't disappoint. Flyers@gmail.com. If anyone in the U.S. wants to meet Austin and I on the road, email me your phone number. Planning on leaving next month. There you go. Flyers@gmail.com. All the people that message me, I'm just going to send y'all his email, by the way, and ask you to hit him up. Been looking forward to this stream, and it was awesome. Gravy, thanks. No problem. Thank you. So, cool. I'm gonna dip out. Knocking Flat Earth and having calendar app. At the beginning of the year, again, it's in March. March, which is just a pagan name. All right. So, cool. Like I always say, unplug. I always say unplug from the box, right? Metaphorical, ideological box. Which eventually it might not even become too metaphorical, right? They just want you to plug into augmented reality. What a crazy clown world. But we can only show you that you're plugged in, right? You have to unplug yourself. And if you're not strong enough to do it, what can we do about that, right? And seek and speak truth unequivocally. Never back down to societal ostracism. People are lame and they suck and they're just weak. And throughout all of history, the really weak, dumber people have always gathered together with mob mentality and thrown rocks at the smarter, independent people that don't back down to societal ostracism. It's actually a self-projection and defiant action of envy, ironically enough. So it's pretty hilarious. But anyway, I'm going to catch up with y'all tomorrow. Not sure what the stream will be about. But yeah, hopefully y'all enjoyed, and I'll catch up with y'all later. If you want to support, links in the description. You know, we got PayPal, Cash App. Oh, shout out to the person that hooked me up on XRP. I haven't been able to find your name yet, but much love on that. So yeah, you got XRP, Cash App, PayPal, and Patreon. If you are a patron and you don't want me to put your name on the list that I show everybody, just let me know. I have a feeling that won't be a problem, but you never know. And yeah, there you go. Links in the description. Once this uploads, I'll drop all of the information. So give me about 15 minutes and I'll drop the videos and the PDF so you can follow the calendar yourself. I may do some streams here in the future breaking down the feast too. It's something I'm still learning that I was deceived on, right? That I haven't put into practice, that I now find to be very important. Because again, they're here to help us. They're here to help us understand things better. So bunch of good streams coming. We got the Clash of the Titans, of course, which is going to be so much gravy. It's hard to fathom. So yeah, good content coming. Working on the merch or whatever. We'll figure out the rest of it. And yeah. Oh, and even though it was the little grabbler lady that said it, very true, right? He who has nothing to hide hides nothing. And truth does not fear investigation. Hold steadfast and prove all things to be true. And do not partake in the works of darkness, but rather reprove and expose them. So, you know, this isn't like an independent decision you get to make that's subjective, like, oh man, I wonder, this is kind of uncomfortable. I just want to look into it. Well, you're actually told to. You have an obligation to find the truth and to seek and speak it unequivocally and wake people up from being deceived. So I'll catch up with y'all later. Peace.
Geopolitically, we in a field. Test for Israel. Wonder, is it real? Rappers acting steady high, steady simple pills. Glorify suicide so they get the deals. Big pharma set it up, had to flip the pills. Control the music industry so the scripts get filled. Geopolitically, I be in a field. Test for Israel. Wonder, is it real? Took the way you saw the world, then distorted it. Now you think you wanna rock and twirl, somewhere orbited. Theories disproportionate, the truth distorted quick with a forceful grip. They force them to simple that we absorb it quick. Took the people's signature, that mean extorted it. They forging it, abusing cause informants who informing them. There's a surplus, but they tell us there are shortages. Credit economy mortgages, dollar that's supported with empty fortresses. But what support is this? We port and ship supporting. Yes, of course it is, what extortion is in accordance with an assortment list of foreign tricks. We ignoring which informant disinforming this. It looked like we were storing tricks. Pedophilia and the government endorsing it. Yeah, eugenics is exactly what abortion is. You just vilify those as subordinate. Way to matrix engineer, that's unfortunate. Geopolitically, we in a field. That's for Israel. Wonder is it real? Rappers acting steady high, steady simple pills. Glorify suicide so they get the deals. Big pharma set it up just to flip the pills. Control the music industry until the scripts get filled. Geopolitically, yeah, we in a field. That's for Israel. Wonder is it real?